Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to sort of sift through the noise and get to what really matters. Today, we're digging into some sources that honestly tell a really disturbing story. It peels back the layers on a life that looked, well, perfect from the outside, but hidden underneath. A terrifying secret. Our job today is to look at how appearances can be so deceiving, how trust can be just completely misplaced, and the devastating fallout when a hidden past explodes into the present. We're basically tracing the path of a relationship that seemed like a dream, but was actually a nightmare waiting to happen.
Yeah, and what's really striking here is how the narrative builds. You see these tiny, tiny cracks starting to appear before this. This huge, shocking revelation just blows everything apart. This deep dive, it's not just about what happened, it's about how our perceptions shape how we see people. And, how vital the critical thinking is, even with the people we think we know best. It'll definitely make you think about how well you really know people and why some details, even tiny ones, can end up being incredibly important.
Okay, so let's paint the picture. We're in Austin, Texas. The year is 2018. Our sources introduce us to Matthew and Ryan, a couple, and by all accounts, they were the definition of picture perfect. Together nearly 6 years. They met at a Pride event, moved in super quickly, like within 3 months.
Wow, fast.
Yeah. Both professionals, 30s, stylish, polite. The kind of couple who hosted game nights, fundraisers for animal shelters even. One source literally said they were the kind of couple that made you believe in love again.
That's quite the image.
Yeah.
But even inside that perfect picture, there was this contrast in their personalities, right? Ryan was the social one, a high school English teacher, apparently really loved by his students, funny, charismatic, just, drew people in, always texting back fast.
Right, the reliable one, never just disappear.
Exactly. And Matthew. He was quieter, a freelance graphic designer, worked from home mostly, didn't really do social media, kind of kept to himself. Ryan used to call him the calm in my storm. But looking back, some people mentioned Matthew had this kind of coldness about him. Like his smiles didn't always reach his eyes.
That detail is chilling now, knowing what we know. Did the sources say if anyone actually said anything to Ryan? Or was it just this unspoken feeling?
It seems like it was mostly unspoken. These little observations, maybe whispers between friends, but nothing direct. And it's in that context, that carefully managed calm, that the first subtle cracks really start showing.
Okay, like what?
Well, Ryan's best friend, a woman named Lacey, she noticed bruises on Ryan's wrist once. He just brushed it off, said he fell in the shower. Quick excuse.
Classic excuse.
Right. And another friend later said Ryan seemed kind of jumpy when Matthew was around him. But it's so hard to step in, isn't it? The sources really emphasize that. It's, quote, not easy to ask someone if they're afraid of the person they love. People tend to avoid that confrontation, even if their gut is screaming that something's wrong.
That really hits home, the difficulty of intervening. And then that feeling of unease, it just suddenly becomes full-blown alarm. A month later, Ryan just doesn't show up to work.
Yeah, no call, no text. Completely out of character for him. He was the guy who always replied, stayed late for students. So after 3 days of just silence, nothing, his colleagues got worried enough to call the police.
And that silence must have been terrifying for his friends and family.
Absolutely. So police go to the house, Matthew answers the door, and he's described as being disturbingly calm. He immediately has a story ready. Says Ryan went to visit his mom in Oklahoma a couple of days ago, must have forgotten his phone charger.
Okay, so missing person, calm partner, convenient story. What immediately felt wrong to the police?
Well, pretty much everything about the story. First, Ryan's mom hadn't heard from him in weeks. Turns out they'd had a fight about a month before and weren't really talking.
Oh, big red flag right there.
Huge. Plus, Ryan's car. Still parked in the driveway, and his phone was off. That doesn't track with someone just visiting family out of state. As the officer started asking more questions, Matthew's calm started to crack. He began acting, strange.
That just cemented their suspicion that his story wasn't holding up.
So suspicions are high. They get a warrant to search the house, and initially, it doesn't look like a crime scene. No struggle, no blood.
Exactly. It was eerily clean. Almost too clean, which can be its own kind of red flag,
Yeah.
But the key discovery wasn't in the main house. It was in the back of the garage. A large, deep freezer. Locked.
Oh, no.
Yeah, they had to force it open. And inside, it was horrific. Ryan's body, frozen. The description is chilling. Curled in on himself like he'd been shoved in quickly.
God.
The autopsy later confirmed he'd been strangled, but the really heartbreaking detail, no defensive wounds, no sign of a struggle at all, which tells you, it suggests he trusted the person who did this, completely vulnerable. That trust became fatal.
That betrayal.
Yeah.
It's just unthinkable.
Yeah.
And Matthew was arrested right then and there, on the spot.
And during questioning, Matthew somehow keeps this unsettling composure, barely blinking, asking for coffee.
Incredible, isn't it? Sat there with perfect posture. His first real statement was cryptic, too. He said he wasn't who he said he was.
Referring to Ryan, what did the police think he meant?
At first, they thought maybe jealousy, or Ryan was cheating, living some kind of double life. That seemed like the obvious angle. But Matthew held that composure until he finally broke and confessed the actual truth, which was much, much darker. Ryan had discovered something. Something from Matthew's past. A secret Matthew thought was buried forever.
Okay, so what was it?
It turns out Matthew wasn't always Matthew. Back in 2006, his name was Daniel Holt. And Daniel Holt had served 5 years in prison for assault and attempted murder.
Wait, attempted murder, 5 years? That's not a minor secret. What happened in that original crime?
It was brutal. When he was just 19, Matthew, as Daniel Holt, attacked his former boyfriend in Florida, viciously. The victim survived, miraculously, but with severe brain damage. Lost an eye. After getting out of prison, Daniel Holt changed his name to Matthew, moved to Texas, and was trying for what he called a fresh start. He never, ever told Ryan any of this.
Never told him. So how? How did Ryan find out? If Matthew or Daniel had buried it so well.
This is where it gets kind of tragically modern. Ryan had a hobby.
Yeah.
Genealogy. Just for fun, you know. He was digging around on ancestry websites, public databases.
Oh, wow.
And he found them. Old news articles about the attack. A grainy mugshot. It looked like Matthew, but it was linked to Daniel Holt and his violent past in Florida. It really shows you, doesn't it? In this digital age, trying to completely erase your past, especially a violent one, it's almost impossible. Those digital footprints stick around.
That's a chilling thought. So Ryan finds this out, this unbelievable secret about the man he loves, and he confronts Matthew.
He did. He confronted Matthew with what he'd found. And according to Matthew's confession, he panicked. He said he couldn't lose Ryan. He was terrified Ryan would leave him, expose this past he tried so hard to escape.
So his motive was fear. Fear of exposure.
Fear of exposure, fear of losing the life he'd built. And in that moment of panic, desperation, he made that horrific decision. He strangled Ryan with the phone cord while Ryan was asleep.
While he was sleeping. No chance to even react.
None at all.
The consequences for Matthew were, thankfully, absolute. He pled guilty, right? No trial.
No trial, no defense. Straight guilty plea. He was sentenced to life in prison, no possibility of parole. And at the sentencing, Ryan's best friend, Lacey, the one who saw the bruises, she said something incredibly powerful. Just 4 words. Love should never make you disappear.
Wow. Love should never make you disappear. That really cuts deep.
It does. And if you sort of pull back and look at the bigger picture here, this deep dive really hammers home how effectively people can build these perfect-looking fronts to hide just awful truths, how secrets can fester and then just explode. It really makes you question trust, doesn't it? And how much our perception shapes what we're willing to see. Because even with those little signs, those gut feelings maybe, it's incredibly hard to see the monster when someone is so good at hiding it, especially someone you love.
So what does this all mean for you listening to this? I mean, the story, it underlines how important it is to trust your instincts when something feels wrong. But it also shows, pretty terrifyingly, that some people wear masks so convincingly. Even love isn't enough to see behind them, not until it's far too late. Ryan had no idea the man sleeping next to him carried a secret that dark. And when he finally stumbled onto the truth, that discovery cost him his life. It makes you think, doesn't it? About all the information, the layers we navigate every day, and what does it really mean to be well-informed, especially about the people closest to us?